Hi and welcome to Animal Rebellion's Wellbeing Training. My name is Lissy and I'm the Action Wellbeing Coordinator for Animal Rebellion. The agenda for the day is: what are regenerative cultures, action wellbeing in Animal Rebellion, deeper check-ins and active listening, wellbeing on the ground, first aider likely scenarios, arrestee welfare and de-escalation, shakeouts, self-soothing, grounding and long-term wellbeing, and completing the regenerative action cycle. So what are regenerative cultures? Regenerative culture basically boils down to self-care, people care and earth care. It is a cycle that is dependent on slowing down our yeses to enable a sustainable balance of work and life. It is an inclusive culture where we recognise our privileges and allow space for others to step forward. It is built on care and support. The regenerative action cycle helps to remind us that an action is only part of the journey. We use either seasons or times of day to describe the cycle. Summer, or midday, is when we act. Autumn, or evening, is a time for debrief. Winter, or nighttime, is when we rest, and spring, or morning, is when we recuperate and create fresh ideas. This is the regenerative action cycle. I'll pause for a minute for you to look at the cycle in more detail. Action wellbeing within Animal Rebellion. Action wellbeing in Animal Rebellion lies within the actions team, and it happens at 3 different levels. It happens between individuals, within affinity groups, and also action-wide. Between individuals. Everyone is encouraged to have a personal anchor, someone who is outside of the action who helps ground a returning rebel. We also encourage people going to actions to have a buddy with them to help them feel connected and supported at an action. Within affinity groups. Wellbeing in affinity groups includes roles like coordinator, which is looking out for others in the group, bringing wellbeing kits and also initiating check-ins, and anchors, people who are away from the action to provide post-action wellbeing. And also action-wide. During actions, there are wellbeing supporters, first aiders, and coordinators to help things run smoothly who are there for immediate support for everyone. The well-being of rebels is everyone's responsibility, but action well-being supporters act as a backup. This is a diagram of the levels of well-being. I'll pause for a second so you can look at it in more detail. Deeper check-ins and active listening. Check-ins are encouraged during an action as well as at the beginning of meetings. It helps ground anxious feelings and allow energy and the mood of the conversation to be established. Active listening is one of the most important parts of the wellbeing training. It means to give the speaker undivided attention with no interruptions so that they can speak freely and attempt to come to their own conclusions. Active listening is also essential in non-violent communication, de-escalation, facilitation, and police station arrestee support. Deeper check-ins. Some tips for a deeper check-in are: talk about how you're feeling, either emotionally, physically, but also what you're thinking about at the time. Anything you need to feel comfortable, patience after a long or stressful day, toilet breaks, etc. And something you're grateful for. Before or after a shift, meeting, high anxiety event, activity, or if someone is distressed, check-ins are essential. You can check in with groups, one-to-one, or individually. Individually checking in with yourself helps develop resilience and allows you to deepen your ability to self-reflect. Active listening. Active listening is something that can feel weird at first because it may not be practiced in everyday life. You can practice it at home with friends or family or within your affinity groups. To practice active listening, let one person speak for 2 minutes straight with no interruptions and just listen. There are other types of listening that are less effective at diffusing a situation with someone angry or distressed. The first one is fixing. This disempowers people and makes them rely on others. The second one is self-referential, basically saying, I did that once too. This minimises the importance of their issues. And the third is blocking. This is when someone says stuff like, I don't know why you're getting so stressed about that. It basically invalidates their feelings. Action wellbeing on the ground. Main tasks of action wellbeing during an action are to provide physical support, provide emotional support, check in with the arrestables, provide emotional support during the arrest, safeguarding wellbeing during an arrest, and helping to find legal observers for arrests. Coordinating action wellbeing before an action. Create and support trained wellbeing supporters and first aiders. Organise a wellbeing kit. Communicate with relevant teams. De-escalation and police liaison are a couple of these teams. And making sure a debrief post-action is booked in. Coordinating action wellbeing during an action. Aid communication with other groups on site and keep their teams informed. Hold check-ins and check-outs for long actions. There should be one coordinator on every shift, and if it is a larger action, there should be at least 2 coordinators on. More details about action wellbeing on the ground. Providing physical support can be providing things like blankets, hand warmers, tarps, brollies, water, sun cream and biscuits. What you bring is weather dependent, but biscuits and water are essential items that you should bring to every action. Emotional support. This can be being with the arrestable, encouraging people to sleep or rest at long actions or during the rebellion, and helping de-escalation if needs be. Checking in with the arrestable. Make sure they're ready for what's going to happen. You're not there to tell people not to get arrested, but to make sure they feel ready for it. They may feel very anxious about getting arrested or change their mind, and you need to be the person there to give them the space to talk through everything with. Do not ask for personal information if police may hear. Physically, they may be hurting, so ask if they are comfortable, and remember to stay calm during an arrest to help calm down the arrestable. There are some wellbeing rights for the arrestees during police custody. They are allowed up to first aider likely scenarios. If you're a qualified first aider, you must have been trained less than 2 years ago and have an accepted FA qualification. People with basic training or an expired training can buddy up with more experienced or qualified FAs. What could first aids encounter? Post-adrenaline sugar low or fainting, stress-related confusion and disorientation, issues with people fasting in lock-on situations, and supporting specific vulnerable groups. If you see someone who is vulnerable, ask if they are okay. Don't go up to them saying, "You're vulnerable, is there anything I can do?" Also, if there is an emergency, don't try and be a hero, call 999. Arrestee support and de-escalation. Arrestee support is there to prepare, support and protect the arrestees. Different trainings are recommended for the arrestees, which are NVDA and Know Your Rights, and it is important that the arrestees have a buddy or anchor with them at the time of the arrest. You safeguard and gather information at the time of the arrest and provide police station support. Doing arrestee support training and de-escalation training is recommended, as you will work closely with these 2 teams. Shakeouts, self-soothing, grounding and long-term well-being. Shakeouts are when you dance or shake in a group. They are useful in highly stressful situations to lighten the mood and lower anxiety amongst rebels. It's recommended for well-being people to do a short check-in or have a shakeout or another type of grounding exercise every hour with a group of people. Don't worry if you look stupid or if it feels weird at first. It helps lower anxiety by making use of the adrenaline in the body. It might look weird, but it is one of the best techniques. Self-soothing or grounding techniques can include focus on your breathing, bringing attention to your feet and feeling connected to the ground, bringing attention to the 5 senses, 5 things you can touch, 4 things you can see, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. There are hundreds of other good self-soothing techniques, but these are a few that are good examples. Completing the regenerative action cycle. For post-action well-being, do what nourishes you. Have a nice meal, go for a walk, or share stories of the day with your team. You can also just go home and sleep. It is a perfectly reasonable thing to do and might just be what your body needs at the time. Plan and debrief before the action. It should be within a week of the action and can be either in person or online. Debriefs are useful as they allow people who have a physical or emotional dip after an action to talk and hear from others. Hearing and listening from others is also just a real treat. Debriefing also helps create the opportunity to learn and grow from mistakes, and as well as allowing us to celebrate our achievements. Remember, look out for everyone, stay calm, and a successful action means well-being does absolutely nothing. Thank you so much for attending this wellbeing training. I hope you found it informative, and we have upcoming online trainings and other recorded online trainings. If you have any questions or want to get more involved, email actions@animalrebellion.org.